So yesterday we talked about the one vital attribute, the one that separates those who become the exception from everybody else. The attribute of the 3%ers who go on to create extraordinary wealth, security, and financial independence for their families. The attribute of stick-to-itiveness. Let me pass on to you the story of Bob Parsons, the founder of GoDaddy. I think it provides an excellent example and one that I hope will inspire your own stick-to-itiveness. So Bob grew up in the inner city of Baltimore. He watched his family struggle financially. After nearly flunking out of high school, Bob enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. He did a tour in Vietnam and had to be medically evacuated from the battlefield. He spent 2 months at a naval hospital recovering from his wounds before he could return home. In 1984, Bob tried selling some software that he wrote. He bought small ads, hired an answering service. After the first day, he called the service to ask how many calls came in after the ad launched. They said 0. That happened day after day, and he lost all of the $15,000 that he put into the business the first year. The next year, he used a $25,000 bonus from his real job and then lost all of that. But he kept trying, and eventually the business took off. It was a typical quote-unquote overnight success story. 10 years after he founded it, he sold Parsons Technology to Intuit for $64 million. Now, 3 years after the earnout of that deal, he had $35 million to invest. It was the dot-com boom era. So Bob founded what would later become known as GoDaddy. Early on, GoDaddy burned through a lot of cash, all his cash, in fact, and he had no partners. Bob kept telling himself that he would worry about it when his cash pile got down to $30 million. And then it was $25 million. And then it was $18 million. And then it was $12 million. Eventually, it got down all the way to $6 million. At that point, he decided to shut the business down, while he still had some of the money left from the Parsons Technology deal. So Bob went to Hawaii to be alone. He needed to figure out how to wind down the business and pay all the creditors and employees without being sued. Then one day, an epiphany happened. The guy who parked his car could not have been happier. He thought, this valet is probably broke, but he's happy as a lark. Yet here I am with $6 million and I'm miserable. It was at that moment when Bob decided that he would not shut down GoDaddy. Instead, he decided that if it didn't work out, he could park cars or work as a stick man at the craps table in Las Vegas, he said. So he strapped himself to the mast. If the company sunk, he'd go down with the ship. Bob said, accepting the worst that can happen is something I also learned as a combat Marine in Vietnam. It's very empowering because it helps you let go all of the debilitating worry. Sticking with it, surviving the bust, Bob finally became cash flow positive in October of 2001. In July of 2011, 10 years later, Bob sold 70% of GoDaddy for a huge pile of cash. GoDaddy's now worth more than $12 billion. Bob Parsons, former high school flunky, is now worth $3.4 billion. He's given away more than $230 million the last 10 years and joined the giving pledge started by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. One of the great lessons here is, and this comes from an old Chinese saying, the temptation to quit will be greatest just before you're about to succeed. This is true not only in entrepreneurship, but in most things in life, in your health, in your relationships, and in your skill development. Sometimes just knowing that's true and remembering it will keep you on the straight and narrow to stick to it. Remember, the darkest hour is just before dawn. Keep in mind, dawn is coming, and keep persisting. As the temptation to quit rises, just stick with it. So, Darren Daily Community, tell us one area of your life where you need to stick with it longer. Jot down some notes in your Darren Daily Journal and share it with us in the comments below.